Hello FFBE players, some of you out there might be wondering, should you be pulling for Taivas? Now, I'm a pretty big fan of him in the story. I think he's a pretty cool character, and he's definitely a cool looking character. He's a very powerful damage dealer, but he has the dreaded tag of being a premium unit. It means that he's got a low rate. It means that his shards or fragments are very hard to acquire in game. You can't get them with summon coins. They're pretty expensive if you just want to buy some. So really you just have to go for more dupes on a low rate banner. So it's not an easy banner to pull on, especially because damage dealers do get eclipsed faster than any other type of unit. So let's talk about the pros and cons of Taivas to see whether or not you should be pulling. Before we talk about Taivas's skills, just a quick reminder that if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. So we can take a look at his TMR and STMR, starting with the TMR. It is a two-handed sword, and you can see that it gets a pretty nice machine killer here. And then if we swipe, it's a 300 fixed attack specifically for Taivas. That's very, very strong. That makes this the highest attack weapon for him because no other greatsword is going to have 467 attack for him. However, there are other weapons that you can use, and if you look at Sinzar's videos, he mentions that the Rain and Fina greatsword is also very good for him because it helps gear him with the LB damage that he will so desperately need. Then for his STMR, if it will let me click there, this is what people are pulling him for. They're not even pulling him for his unit, although they will use him undoubtedly. But Taivas's Spirit is a very, very good ability. You equip it as a materia, and what it does is at the very start you can use it of battle. You can use it again in 4 turns, and it's going to give you a 30 times mod upgrade for your LB, and any LB damage dealer can use this. So it's not just an upgrade for Taivas, it's an upgrade for any other unit that you can equip this to. But not only that, it also gives you a 300% attack buff, a 250% limit burst buff, and then a 2000 LB fill. And that's an upgrade from global, these things, and they're all really potent. So it kind of does some role condensing for you if you are really, really tight on a party and you don't want to bring someone to do your attack and LB damage buff. Well, guess what? Now you have it here. You can use this on one turn and then use your LB on the next turn, and you're all set up for some big kills. So this is obviously a really, really powerful TMR. STMR. People are going to want a ton of copies of these. Honestly, let's say you have 3 LB finishers, you might want 3 copies of this. So if you get a copy of Taivas by accident from the daily pull, whatever, make sure you STMR Moogle it. If you are going to build the second copy, whatever it is, like make sure you're just getting the maximum amount of STMRs from this as you can. Now, when we actually look at him as a unit, you know, he's got some resists here. That's all great. His kit is very, very simple. Now, it's kind of like Sephiroth and Tifa, kind of like Auron, these finishers that don't have a lot going on to their kit. However, Taivas is a bit of a step down in terms of utility than Sephiroth and Tifa, and I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't have a Brave Shift, so you can't have, you know, like a resistance geared form and then a finisher form. He just has what he has, so he doesn't fit as well into some parties that need to do a long game and you know, like equip different types of equipment. He's also locked in terms of his chaining because Sephiroth and Tifa had those non-elemental chains that you could imbue. With him, you can imbue his physical attacks, but they're gonna have fire, they're gonna have ice, and these. So otherwise, I mean, he does some Brave Shift. He does some bolting strike chaining. That's all fine. He has one super big amp that he can use just like Tifa and Sephiroth. It gives you that limit burst, and it gives you that attack buff. It gives you a full LB gauge, so you know when you get to EX2 and you can pop off an LB at the start of a fight, you can then use this, get your amp, and get your LB back right away. So you can see here, if he has his TMR or STMR equipped, he's going to have undergoing a top secret mission activate at the start of a battle after being revived after Brave Shift. Of course, he doesn't have a Brave Shift, but this is a 30% fire amp and also a 200% attack buff, and then a Beast Killer Machina Killer buff as well. So this is a pretty huge amp. Just you get it at the start of the fight. If you want to do one-turn kills and you don't have a time to cast his big fire amp, his 50% amp, you don't have to bring a fire amp to do the 30% for you. He has it covered already, baked into what he's doing. So that's kind of a nice little utility right there. And then otherwise, besides his chaining, besides his amp, he's got a pretty huge damage reduction for himself. I mean, that's niche, but when it comes in handy, it comes in handy. In terms of EX Awakenings, at EX2, he's going to get a full LB gauge. At EX3, he's going to get that 500 flat attack. And then he also gets a Guts buff here. It's 2-time Guts buff. He gets some killers, some resistances and stuff. And then he gets a lot of attack and equipment attack and stuff, and some LB damage, but he doesn't get enough. Like, he needs 150 more LB damage. If you have his VC equipped, I think you're fine for attack and equipment attack. Or at least you're very close to capping them, but I think he will need lots of help to get to LB damage. You also need some help with the chain cap, so you need to have a Clash of Wills item on, or you've already used 2 materia slots, right? So you've got his STMR, you've got the SOS Lightning STMR, and then you only have 2 materia slots left to cap your LB damage. That's where Rain and Fina's great sword, great bow thing comes in handy. So he is tricky to gear, but he's easier to gear on global than he is in JP. Taivas is a super limit burst finisher, and we can take a look at what that actually looks like here. So this is his regular LB. If it's at max level, you get a great sword in peril, you get a defense break, you get a fire in peril, and then an LB damage boost and a pretty big 200 times modifier. So like, that's all fine. Now if you actually go to super limit burst here, then it gets ramped up in a big way. This is a 25% in peril. That's 15% more. Was it? No, it was 15 before. So 10% more. You get the break, you get a bigger in peril, and you get a much, much bigger 150 times more. So 350 times total LB modifier. And again, when you put on his STMR, you're gonna be taking that to 380 times modifier. So he's the strongest finisher currently in the game, and that's a really big deal. Now, this is a fire elemental attack. You can see that right here. What that means is that, yes, you can imbue this, but you're also going to have to deal with the fact that if they have a really high fire resist, you're going to be kind of mitigating your own damage. However, Sephiroth is perfectly fine as a finisher on a lot of bosses that don't have like the lowest dark resistance. Maybe their lowest ice, maybe their lowest fire, whatever it is, but their dark resistance isn't like absorb and it's not super high. He still does so much damage doing multiple elements with multiple imperils, etc. That Taivas will work the same way. If there's someone that doesn't have a huge resistance to fire, then you can still use him as a finisher and imbue and imperil another element, because this isn't a physical attack, so you can still do those things. So I guess you're wondering if you should be pulling for Taivas, and to be honest, it's really tricky to say because I just don't like this banner. I don't like the fact that we're going to get so many more damaging units over time. You know, Xenogears is going to have some really high damage units, Kane's coming up. There's lots of other options, and for free-to-play players, or players that just want to be very careful with their Lapis, then I don't know that you'd necessarily want to pull him for his damaging ability. However, that STMR is just so good. So I personally am going to use all my tickets on him and see if I can get lucky. I'll do the 250 daily pull. I'm personally not going to be pulling on him. I think new players with all that story Lapis could probably go for him, because you're just going to be set. You're going to be set up with a great STMR. You're going to be set up with a really awesome finisher for your new account. So I think new players could use that Lapis and do it. They could re-roll for it if you're starting right now. But then otherwise, if you're an experienced player, you know what type of player you are. Are you the type of player that needs that STMR? Are you the type of player that really wants to get this new finisher? But at the end of the day, you could skip him and get more damage dealers eventually, because that's how this game works. Everybody gets lapped eventually, but he will be good. He will be strong for a long time to come. So you can't really go wrong. It's just if you're ready to take that premium plunge, as it were. I mean, and I'm not. So and it's tough, because he is my favorite character from season 4, and he looks really cool. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to pass. That's going to be it for this video, and let me know what you thought. Was this a helpful video, or did I get any information wrong? Because I'm pretty new to doing the should you pulls, so I do defer to the more experienced players. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's going to be useful useful for other players to read those comments, for new players to read those comments. And be sure to come and hang out with us on the Mysidia Gaming Discord. We have the FFBE channel, and we also have the FFBE help channel to get help from other FFBE players. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.